Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where before we get to today's top stories, I have two announcements. The first is that voting has begun for your favorite movies of 2015. The poll went live yesterday, and the link is in the video description, and you have until January 2nd to cast your vote. And basically, you go to the poll, the URL, and then you get to fill in the form, and all the movies are listed there that came out this year, and you pick your top 10. And then after January 2nd, I will make a video discussing the results and what you guys pick for the top 10 movies of the year. I know a lot of you will want to wait to vote until Star Wars comes out, but a lot of you have faith as it's already very competitive in the polling, even though nobody has seen it. Also, for my coverage for top movies of the year, I will be releasing my usual videos, my favorite movies of the year, my most hated movies of the year, which proved to be a very popular video last year, and then also hidden gems, movies that I think are worth a look that you probably didn't see in theaters. Because when I was making this list of movies for you to vote, I was like, wow, that was a good movie. I bet a lot of people didn't see that. Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie. So I was like, you know what? I should do what I can to try and bring a little bit of attention to these films that were almost certainly overlooked, at least according to their box office numbers. Now, the second announcement has to do with an idea actually from one of you, a BTT viewer. Yesterday, I did my phone calls. When I hit 16,000 followers on Twitter, I said as a reward and as a thank you, I was going to call 10 BTT viewers who tweeted me and wanted to talk. I ended up doing 25. I did that all day yesterday. I still have a few left who couldn't talk yesterday, but I had so much fun, and in fact, I'm going to do it again at the end of January. So watch my Twitter feed, follow me, so you make sure that you see it. I'll announce it here as well, though, and I will ask who wants to, who's interested in having a conversation for 5 minutes via Skype. So again, look for that in late January. But Francisco Lumbrera, a BTT viewer, had a really good idea. He said, Grace, I have a question for you, but it's long, and I think it's a lot of work to type it out, so I wanted to know if maybe I could send you a video question. And I was like, Francisco, that's a brilliant idea. So he did send me one. Actually, I'll be answering it tomorrow. I just don't have time today to edit it in. But I'm opening that up as a possibility to everyone. If you want to send me your question for Morning Movie News as a video, you can send me the YouTube link, upload it to YouTube like you do for the BTT Voice videos, and it will be edited into Morning Movie News. So instead of me reading your question out loud, you will actually get to ask it, and everyone can see you. So all that I ask is that, again, you submit it as a YouTube link, and I'll be able to download it from YouTube. That's just to protect me from nasty computer stuff and everything like that. And then also keep it to 30 seconds, please, still, because it's, not only in the interest of everybody's time watching, but also it's going to be hard for me to really watch too long of a video. And, I don't want to have to edit it down. I basically want to just be able to chop it in, stick it into the video, and then allow you to be a part of Morning Movie News even more so. So thank you, Francisco, for that wonderful idea. I'm very excited to incorporate it, but I also want to make it clear that you don't have to be on camera to submit a question. Written questions are still welcome, and I suspect will probably be the norm. So if you want to go video, that's a choice that you can make. All right, so let's get on to today's Morning Movie News, and then, of course, the viewer question. So I tweeted at the end of the week that I called it, I predicted it, that Ryan Coogler was going to direct Black Panther. Now, to be fair, his name had been mentioned previously as a rumor, but a lot of people were saying, oh no, that didn't work out, he turned it down or something. For some reason, the rumor had turned on Ryan Coogler and said that he was no longer going to do it. But I knew that wasn't the case because he's just too good a choice, and in some ways, he's the only choice for Marvel to direct this film to make sure it has a feeling of authenticity, and because this is going to be really tricky waters for Marvel to navigate. So I think that they're going to want to make sure they have someone steering the ship who has some credibility and is someone that the Black community, which are going to be watching this movie like a hawk or like a panther, will feel comfortable with. Also, a scapegoat if it goes wrong, being like, well, Ryan Coogler said it was okay, so, don't get too upset with us. Now, what's interesting, so I said I always had faith. I always believed that it would be Ryan Coogler, and I do think this deal will work out. And after, by the way, I was talking with another BTT viewer yesterday. We were talking about how awesome Creed was, Michelle. And I mentioned to Michelle, I said, Michelle, I saw that movie twice, and the second time I realized that the first fight between that guy at Rocky's gym, like kind of the exhibition kind of fight, that's all done in one take. So that's amazing when you realize that. And for those of you who will see Creed more than once, and I imagine there will be a couple of you, look out for that, because it's just stunning to do an action sequence in such tight such a tight setting, choreographed for a long take that involves boxing. That means hits, fake hits, a lot of choreography with the actors moving in and around the camera. All the boxers, they're, Sylvester Stallone, who's advising. It's just a thing of beauty. So Ryan Coogler can do something that sophisticated, and it's really just his second professional film. I'm very excited to see what he might be able to do for Black Panther. Now, another BTT viewer tweeted me and said, this morning actually, and said, do you think that Marvel's waiting to finalize this deal until they see how Creed is doing at theaters? And that's an interesting question, because Creed did drop quite a bit its second weekend, and we're going to discuss that, of course, on Movie Math. But I think that's unfortunate. And we're going to, Movie Math, we're going to be covering all the movies over the weekend. So here I wanted to talk about the fact that, unfortunately, I think that, quote unquote, black film, and it's, Creed shouldn't fall into that category, by the way, but it's not holding up like it should. Considering the word of mouth on that movie and the franchise that it's a part of, it shouldn't have dropped 60%, and it dropped 40%. The Good Dinosaur dropped 60, but 40, almost close to 50% it dropped, like 47%. That's way too high for Creed. And so it's really kind of unfortunate that audiences aren't, more widespread audiences aren't giving that movie the chance that it deserves. It's a fabulous movie. It's one of the best movies of the year. But I think that for Marvel, I don't think that they should let that affect their decision, because you know what? If people have a prejudice, certain audiences have a prejudice against certain types of movies and certain kind of, casts and demographics, that's their problem. And it isn't going to go away, unless they just keep making movies and, chip it down. You would think a movie like Creed would chip it away, so I'm a little disappointed to see how that's developed at the box office. It's kind of hard for me even to talk about it, because it's just like, you just feel so disappointed. You're just like, that was supposed to be one that made major progress. So we'll see how it does in the long term, but that's a very disappointing week too. But, maybe just Michael B. Jordan isn't a draw, particularly after Fantastic Four, perhaps. Chadwick Boseman, though, also not a draw. I think there are very few, black actors working today, although many of you will point out very few white actors as well, who are a guaranteed draw at the box office. So it's going to have to, but that's why you're like, but Rocky should have been the draw, right? Sylvester Stallone returning to the role, the great reviews, the great word of mouth, that should have been the draw. So to see that not materialize is a little scary, but Black Panther is going down this road no matter what. That's the nature of the property. So Marvel should make the best movie they possibly can, and then if it doesn't do as well at the box office as some of the other films, well, then that's on the audience. That's just it's an unfortunate reflection on audience prejudices. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. And they can't cast a Kevin Hart. They can't cast a Denzel Washington. They have to get a new young talent. And, nobody wants to see Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans outside of the Marvel Universe. So why couldn't that same thing apply to Chadwick Boseman? So we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm very curious to see what happens with Star Wars. Boy, Star Wars is going to be a huge test. I'm very curious. We will know shortly. All right, so that's the first story of the day, and I'm curious to what do you think of Ryan Coogler as choice for Black Panther? What do you think of Creed? Are you surprised it's not doing better at the box office? What do you think that says about movie-going and diversity in movies? And also, what do you think of Black Panther? Do you think that Creed faltering at the box office is a sign? But, look at Ant-Man. Ant-Man made a ton of money. It made over like $500 million. So if Paul Rudd and Ant-Man can do it, I mean, come on, Black Panther, right? I'm excited for it, and I really genuinely hope that other people are as well. If not, again, let that be on the audience, not on the quality. Just do everything you're supposed to, Marvel, and again, do everything you can. That's the best that Marvel can do. And I think that hiring Ryan Coogler is a great part of that package. All right, so the second story of the day, talking about diversity, we're going to head over to Lucasfilm, where Kathleen Kennedy is actively recruiting women writers and directors for more Star Wars films. This is kind of something that's been gestating for a little bit, because people have been quick to point out, especially after Colin Trevorrow made that comment about women in directing blockbusters, and he, of course, is directing Star Wars Episode 9. people said, well, Star Wars is so infatuated with diversity in their movies, yet there is absolutely no diversity behind the camera, save for Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy went on to say, well, there are a number of female writers actually working on the Star Wars universe, but then as I pointed out, nobody knows what their names are because they're not getting any publicity, and she didn't even mention their names when she defended that there was diversity in the people behind the scenes, right? She was like, there's a large group of women that I've seen from afar, and I know they're there, so don't give me any problems. But apparently that wasn't enough of an excuse. Shocker. So she's actively gone after women writers and directors. Now, she said something that I thought, I think I understand where she's coming from. I think it's frustrating to deal with these kind of situations. I think that everyone's like, I don't want to be targeted for not having enough diversity, but it's like, the best way to not have problems about not having diversity, just go and have diversity. But she kind of like had, I thought, a comment that wasn't so great. She said, but I also think it speaks volumes about, women working in the industry. She said, not a single woman has called me asking to work on Star Wars as a writer or a director. No agent has said, hey, have you thought about my client? Now, I would say that's for probably a couple of reasons that speak to the larger problem of women in Hollywood. One, I think most women in Hollywood probably aren't interested in making a Star Wars movie. I mean, if you ask them the hypothetical directly, they're like, yeah, of course I want to make a Star Wars movie, especially if you're saying I can't, but I think it's not like on their bucket list, right? I think that that's the problem. I think you need more women working in Hollywood who want to make blockbusters, because women certainly enjoy watching them, as we can see from the demographic makeup of the audience, but and maybe that wave of filmmakers is coming. Maybe they're in film school right now. Because it's like, look at Ava DuVernay. She was able to walk away from Black Panther, which boggles my mind because that would have been such a game changer for her career. And she didn't walk away, and she's gone nowhere else. She's just kind of like in limbo. So I think that was a huge mistake, and I think it kind of embodies the problem that women have right now in the industry. I think largely that also they're not very good wheelers and dealers, right? Oh, they're like that sketch that Funny or Die made. Oh, I'm offended by the way the executives in the room are working. You think guys get along with every boss they've ever had? Sometimes you don't get along with your boss. Sometimes you don't see eye to eye, but you make it work. You don't quit. You get that movie made, and you understand that that's just the way business is done, especially in something that's so collaborative like Hollywood. Everybody has their crazy stories. The difference is that women turn their nose up and be like, I'd quit. I don't want to be in this environment. And men are like, I'm rolling up my fists and I'm not going home because I want to be here, damn it. And I think that women need to start doing that more. I also think that they need to be more aggressive in going after work. Why aren't any women coming up to Kathleen Kennedy and say, especially after there was all that issue about women working in Star Wars, why didn't some enterprising woman in the industry say like, oh, if she needs a woman, it's going to be me. And I would just, run up to Kathleen Kennedy and be like, oh, I love Star Wars. Let me prove it to you and talk to you about it, et cetera, et cetera. It's just weird to me. It's really, really weird. So I think that Kathleen Kennedy, I think that she shouldn't have said that in the way that she did, I guess she could have said it, but she should have expanded upon it to say why, like women, just what I was talking about. But I think that just to say, well, no one called me either is like not cool. Not cool. So I'm curious, what do you think about women moving into the Star Wars space? I'm a little nervous about it because they have to do a good job, and so far I think Patty Jenkins has not done such a good job with Wonder Woman. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I really like what Zack Snyder is doing, and I see Patty Jenkins to some degree undoing what we've seen of the movie so far. We've seen very little in the defense of the film, but I've seen very little of Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman too, and that's amazing. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Now, the second story of the day is about Josh Hutcherson, actually, who's getting some work. How wonderful is that? Everybody was very excited for Jennifer Lawrence's career. Everyone's very curious to see what will happen to her post-Hunger Games. Can her career survive? Will she be the same level of star as she was during her reign as Katniss Everdeen? But, of course, I don't think that many people focus on what would happen to her co-stars. I don't think anything's going to happen to Liam Hemsworth. All due respect to Liam Hemsworth, I don't see a huge charisma there. I think that he's famous for being Gale, kind of like the choice in the love triangle that nobody ever thought was going to get picked, and also for dating Miley Cyrus. That's basically all that he's really done. But Josh Hutcherson, I think, has really impressed people as Peeta. I think I was really impressed with his work as Peeta, and I thought he did a lot to make that role real. and also to give it a lot of respect and self-confidence, even though he's not an alpha male type character. And I think that's great to see that kind of individual, that kind of type of guy portrayed in movies. Just like there are lots of different types of women, there are lots of different types of men. So I really liked his work there. And so luckily, he got a pretty good gig. Now, he's really seems to have hooked up big time with James Franco, because James Franco is, of course, very prolific. Now, James Franco is prolific in a good way and a bad way. In a good way, he works with Seth Rogen, does all these great projects like that. But also, Seth Rogen also happens to be in this movie called The Sound and the Fury. I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but basically everyone remembered Tropic Thunder's Don't Go Full Retard and applied it to James Franco's performance just from the trailer. I mean, it looked really bad, it looked really poorly directed and very poorly produced in terms of production values. Oddly so. But anyway, there's one project that James Franco is working on. He also has Hutcherson in his film In Dubious Battle and The Long Home, 2 movies that are in post right now. I think James Franco should realize that, sometimes it's quality over quantity. I hope that he, if you have to make a choice, you go with the quality, not the quantity. But anyway, he has one film called The Disaster Artist, which I think has the most potential, and Hutcherson has just signed on for this. And this is basically the making of The Room, considered the worst movie ever made. It goes around and has midnight screenings across the country with the director, writer, producer, star, talking to audiences, and I guess being happy that people want to watch this movie even if they think it's horrible. Now, I think this has the chance to be a modern-day Ed Wood. Although I wish that James Franco was just producing and starring, I wish that he would hire another director, because I have yet to see any real talent there, and I also feel that he's making so many movies himself as a director that it dilutes the importance of when they come out. But if you got another established, experienced director, I think this would give a little bit more momentum to this project. We'll see how it comes together, but it's going to star his brother, Dave Franco. It's going to star Seth Rogen, obviously, but then also Josh Hutcherson. And I think that I'm very excited to see him do more comedy, because I don't know if you caught him on Saturday Night Live, but he wasn't the funniest guy I've ever seen on the show, but I think that he showed a real willingness to play along and to be game for no matter how silly a sketch might have seemed, and to really commit to the characters that he was playing. Like he was he was a receptionist in a veterinarian's office, and there was just something about his performance there that really impressed me. I thought he was playing a gay character, and he played it both comedically, but I think also respectfully, and I thought that was really nice. I was very impressed with his work. And of course, Bill Hader played his Stefan on SNL. Yet, in the Skeleton Twins, did one of the most touching, well thought out, and most in-depth portrayals of a gay man today that I've seen in film. Period. Which I thought was great. So I think sometimes comedy can also give way to really great acting if the person doing it is respectful. And I think Josh Hutcherson is. So I'm happy for him, and I'm curious. Do you think Josh Hutcherson has a career beyond the Hunger Games, or is it just Jennifer Lawrence? Maybe you want to defend Liam Hemsworth. Please do if you would like to. I'd be curious to see how you would go about that. All right, so let's go to the viewer question. This is a traditional written viewer question from Frederick Grenier. And I thought Frederick had a very good question, which has to do with the discussion of Deadpool last week and ratings, and whether or not Deadpool has gone too far, particularly with some of the sexual nature of its humor, and how, because we talked about that poll and that survey about parents, and that they are much more concerned about sexual content than they are violence in movies. And so I think that, while they might have snuck their kid into just a violent Deadpool movie, a sexually explicit Deadpool movie might be a no-go. So Frederick said, I just wanted to give you some context for Frederick's question. So Frederick said, squeaky question. That's in response to my saying the squeaky wheel gets the grease. He said, Grace, I hope you're having a great day. I love to watch your show every day during lunchtime at work, or listening to it while working when it comes out later, but don't tell anyone. Your secret's safe with me, Frederick. You often talk about the importance of the rating for the success of a movie, especially for Deadpool. I wonder what kind of ratio do 13-year-olds and younger occupy in this kind of violent movie. I don't know if it's the case in the US, but in Canada, movie tickets are less expensive for kids. So I wonder how they can make such a big impact on the success of the film. I'm hoping I'm asking this right. English is my second language after all. Smiley face, keep up the amazing content. Well, the fact that you can listen to my videos, while you're working and multitask, even though English isn't your first language, is pretty darn impressive, Frederick. And as I always say, whenever anyone apologizes for their English, it's usually spot on. So great job, Frederick. So anyway, Frederick, what he means is that if a children's ticket is cheaper, how much is it really going to help the box office? And really, are a ton of kids going to go? So at the end of the day, how much is it going to take off, of Deadpool's opening weekend, for instance? Well, let me explain where I'm coming from. I think, first of all, that Zoolander 2 is going to be tremendous competition for Deadpool, and I think it's almost 100%. I'm like 99% that Zoolander 2 will own that weekend. It's PG-13. Anyone can go and see it, although it does have a little bit of sexually explicit content in it as well, but it managed to get that PG-13 rating. Some like sexual jokes, but if you watch the international trailer, basically. But I think Zoolander 2 looks absolutely fantastic. So I think it's going to do quite well. And I think Deadpool is just not going to be able to compete in terms of getting the #1 movie. So I don't think Deadpool will be the #1 movie when it opens, actually, which is something to chew on. But it could be close. So when you have kids are important because kids don't go to the movie by themselves, especially because it's R-rated. Some adult needs to bring them. So, Frederick, in answer to your question, even though the ticket is cheaper for the kids, people who accompany them to the movie are full price. And that's how you get more adults to go, especially opening weekend, right? If an adult can't take their child, are they going to hire a babysitter to see Deadpool opening weekend? Is it that much of an appointment viewing? For some hardcore fans, I think for sure. But then there might be some, parents who go, well, my kid can't go. They're very sad about it. I'm going to I'm sure some parents right now are like, oh, forget that. I'm going. I'll get a babysitter. I'll explain it to the kid when I come home. But I think they might wait till it's available on, streaming and just watch it in fast forward parts if necessary. You just don't know. There might be some people who've been on the fence, so they might be like, well, you can see Zoolander, so I'll go see Zoolander this weekend, and I'll catch Deadpool maybe during the week, right, without you. Why make parents have these discussions with their child? Especially because Deadpool is so child, friendly. Not intended to be, but hey, them's the breaks. Kids like it. So I think that's what it is. I think that kids are important because it's not that much cheaper. It's still money, right? But I think that it's wanting to make sure that their parents go with them or their older siblings. That you get that group, that it becomes a group activity, like an appointment movie viewing. And it's hard to have appointment movie viewing when not everyone can go. I mean, if you're interested in the importance of children being able to see movies, just think about Marvel and how they are so determined to make sure that all of their movies are kid friendly, even perhaps to their detriment in the long run. We'll see, because I think plenty of kids went to see The Dark Knight, and I think that movie was a good example of something that was violent and dark, but because it wasn't sexually explicit at all, it was something that parents felt their kids could go and see and made ridiculous amounts of money as a result. So it's a blurry area. I think you have to kind of just get a feel for it, but I think Deadpool is definitely something that a lot of parents will feel, you know what, usually I would let my kid go, but and I'm sure there are some that will. I'm just trying to, be honest here, but I think there will be a large group that go, I've spoken to some of you who have said this. I'm sorry, it's just too far. It's too far beyond what I would allow. So that's my answer to your question, Frederick. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a great day at work. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please write down below what you think of today's top 3 stories, that viewer question. Don't forget to vote for your top 10 movies of 2015. You have until January 2nd to do so. And if you want to submit a viewer question, you can now either do it written, or you can tweet me or include the URL here in the comments to a YouTube video of you asking the question. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.